Great.
Just going to wait a couple more minutes, so please feel free to talk amongst yourselves. No pressure. Okay, well, we might get started then. So, hi everyone.
Hello.
Oh, that was lovely. Thank you. That was about a 4 out of 10 for enthusiasm, but I will take it. I was honestly expecting a 1, so I'm quite happy with that. So welcome everyone. It's so great to have you here, either in person or online. We will have a bit of housekeeping to go through, but first and foremost, as long as everyone is comfortable, Sasha and I are just going to take our masks off because we've got quite a bit of talking to do, and I figure we don't need a medical emergency of one of us passing out from a lack of oxygen. No one, everyone's looking okay, okay? You probably can't actually tell the difference with me because it's pretty much the exact same color as my beard. There is a few grays in the beard though, please don't look for them. So just to start things off, my name is Ari. I work in the Faculty of Sciences and I'm joined by...
Hello everyone, my name is Sasha. I also work with Ari in the Faculty of Sciences. So just before we get into it, we just wanted to cover a couple of housekeeping points with you. First and foremost, if you haven't already, just make sure that you check in using the QR codes that are sort of out in the foyer of the lecture theatre. Keep your masks on while you're seated and just maintain social distancing, which shouldn't be a problem, hopefully, for all of us, considering we have a nice large space.
Yes, we picked the biggest room we could for that exact purpose, so we're glad it's all working. Another couple of bits of housekeeping. If you do need the bathrooms, there will be people up in the front who can point you in the right direction for those of you in person. For those of you online, it is down the hall and to the left. I take no responsibility if you go to the wrong room. This session will be recorded, and the recording and a copy of the presentation will be sent out to everyone as well. So you don't need to take copious notes or take photos of all the slides. It's all going to be provided to you within about 24 hours. We will have an opportunity for a Q&A at the end of this session. So if you are online, please jump in and type your questions in the Q&A section. For those of you in person, we do ask that you hold your questions to the end. If in case of an emergency, follow the instructions. In case of an emergency at home, I hope it goes okay. So we're just going to sort of go through a few different things today, but I'll hand back to Sasha.
Yeah, so first and foremost, just like to do an acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge and pay our respects to the Kaurna people, the traditional custodians whose ancestral lands we gather on. We acknowledge the deep feelings of attachment and relationship of the Kaurna people to country, and we respect and value their past, present, and ongoing connection to the land and cultural beliefs.
So we've got quite a bit packed into tonight. We're going to be covering quite a lot. So first of all, let's take a moment to acknowledge what everyone went through yesterday. Congratulations.
Yay. Yay. We did it.
It's hard to tell because I can't tell if you're smiling or if you're just looking at me like, what even happened yesterday? So congratulations, you got through year 12, you got your results. It's all moving along. If you are an IB student, hopefully you'll be getting your results very soon, early next year, I believe. So we are going to cover quite a few different topics today, including a bit of an overview about sciences and its impact on the world and what that translates to in terms of employment for you, as well as an overview of what's coming up. So we'll have some current students talking to you. We're going to go through the enrollment process, how to pick out your timetable, accepting your offers. We'll go through all of that at light level of detail. And then at the end of the session, after the Q&A, all the staff will be here. So you can ask your personal questions as well, one-on-one, if you don't want to ask them in front of the group. So there's quite a bit to cram into today. Hopefully you all got a pack in the mail from us over the last couple of weeks with some brochures and some bits and bobs. Otherwise, all the brochures are up in the hallway up the front. Please take them so then I don't have to take them back to the office.
Take them all.
Would really appreciate it. There's a lot of stairs. So one thing that we really wanted to clear up about science is that it's not just lab coats and safety glasses. It's not just doing endless lab reports. Certainly that is a part of science, but science is so much more and it's so much bigger. It is very much at the center of human progress. It's all about solving problems, and the world is facing quite a few different problems at the moment. I won't address the socially distant elephant in the room. Oh, that got a chuckle. Okay, cool. I was told I wasn't allowed to make a science joke, but I really wanted to. Does anyone mind? Okay, cool. You know, I was going to start things off with a chemistry joke, but then I was afraid I wouldn't get a reaction. Worth it.
Very good. Very good. I like that
one. Yeah. I have too many more. So science is huge. It's really a big part of society, and there's so many different elements and facets to science. But I think something that really stands out is the fact that it's predicted that in the next 50 years, science is going to drive more human progress than in the last 400 years combined. Now, I am approximately 400 years old, and I can say that quite a lot happened in that time. And if you try and condense that down into 50 years, it's absolutely incredible. So there's so many different areas of science in biomedicine, looking in animal and veterinary sciences, going all the way through to space science and astrophysics. We don't have time to cover them all, but Sasha's going to give us a bit of an overview of one of those areas.
Yeah, so like Ari said, there are lots of examples that we can sort of look at that illustrate just how much of an impact science has on our world, on the environment, on society, on our economy, and it perhaps impacts those things in ways that you may not actually realize or haven't really thought of before. So if you look at one industry, for example, and look at ways that science is making an impact on that industry, for example, the agriculture, food and wine industry. Now, when I say agriculture, you probably think crops, in a paddock, on a farm, right? Pretty sort of basic, yeah. In fact, agriculture is about a lot more than just crops and on a farm. And it's incredible just the amount of progress that we're making and that science is contributing to that. And so the development of agriculture through science is actually really critical to us as a human race. So say, for example, what we know is that there are a lot of people that live in the world today, right? There are billions of people. And we know that us as people, we consume a lot of food, right? But what you may not know is by 2050, the population of the world is expected to grow up to 10 billion people, which, like I said, there are lots of billions of people in the world today, but 10 billion people is a whole lot more than what we have today. To be able to meet the demand of all those extra people that are going to be on the planet and will need to consume food, we need to increase our food production and our produce production by up to 56%. Now, it's not just about producing more food to feed that sort of extra demand. It's also about finding regenerative practices that make the production of that food more sustainable, so we don't impact and harm our planet in the process of producing all of that extra food. So that's just sort of one little example of how science is making a positive and sort of impacting and changing the industry. But I suppose looking at the careers available, for example, in agriculture, food and industry, and what a career might look like for you in the future and what it might involve, I think the biggest thing to think about and to remember is technology. We're seeing a huge increase in technology in the agricultural space. We're seeing equipment and technology like drones and crop sensors and soil sensors sort of making a big impact in the space. And so that's sort of, those types of technologies is something that you would definitely interact with and use if you were to pursue a career in the agriculture space, but also you may have a part to play in developing that sort of technology, which is really exciting as well. In the food space, food technologists are working really hard to manage and control the amount of food waste that we produce. So we were just talking about before how many humans are on the planet and how much food we eat and consume, but along with that comes a huge amount of food waste. So food technologists are looking at ways that we can use the food that we would usually throw away in different ways to make the food supply chain a bit more sustainable. So one of the examples of that, something that we're actually working on here at the University of Adelaide, is potato ice cream. So there are millions and millions of potatoes that are thrown away every single year, purely because they were deemed not aesthetically pleasing enough to be on the shelves at supermarkets and be sold to customers. So purely because those potatoes were deemed essentially as a bit ugly, they were thrown away and considered food waste. But what we're doing is trying to look at how we might use those potatoes to produce a product that we don't usually consume. We don't usually use potatoes to make ice cream, and you're probably sitting there going, I never want to try that. That sounds absolutely disgusting. Rest assured, it is actually incredibly delicious. And it's an amazing example of how how science is sort of working to make that food waste, to tackle that food waste problem and make it more sustainable. Another example in the winemaking space. So winemakers are working, looking at different grape varieties and how they respond to the really harsh environment conditions that are here in Australia. So working to try and make them a little bit more resilient, so that we don't have to use our traditional irrigation systems and we can save more water, hence being more sustainable. So that's just a sort of a snapshot into specifically the agriculture, food and wine industry. And again, how science has a huge impact in developing that. But it's important to remember that that's not just happening in agriculture, food and wine, that's happening in every single industry that you can think of. Very exciting time. So I suppose if that wasn't enough to convince you and get you excited about studying in and working in science, I suppose these statistics probably really speak for themselves. You're probably still thinking, why is science going to benefit me? What am I going to get out of pursuing a career in the area? And again, I'll let the statistics speak for themselves. 75% of the fastest growing occupations require STEM subjects. So what we're seeing, the trend that we're seeing amongst employers is that the skills that you pick up in a STEM degree are not only valued by employers, but are actually required. The top 5 highest paid jobs in Adelaide are in STEM industries. So that's a pretty great statistic to think about. You can sort of hop over that graduate salary that you can expect to have once you finish your degree and once you graduate, and sort of puts you ahead of the game, really. STEM jobs are growing twice as fast as any other job, and STEM skills are in demand with an industry shortage. So what we're seeing, for example, in the agricultural space, in the agriculture sector, is that there can be up to 5 jobs ready and available for every 1 graduate. So you don't need to worry about, competing against sort of other people. There's only 1 job available and all these people are sort of going for it. You're going to have the pick, any sort of job that you're going to have them handed to you, essentially, because like I said, those skills are in demand.
So there's a lot of opportunities, but now we need to actually get you there. So we've kind of jumped a few years, but we will get you there. So in terms of why you would choose to study science at the University of Adelaide, we are very much designed to make sure that you are getting the best possible education and making sure that you are ready to go and that you're job ready when you graduate. So we actually have 3 different campuses that we operate from as the Faculty of Sciences. So we're here at North Terrace, but we also have the Oweek campus just off Cross Road for agriculture, food and wine, and the Roseworthy campus for animal and veterinary sciences as well, which is about an hour north of the city. And we do run shuttle bus services between the campuses as well, if you'd prefer to take that as an option. There's a lot of stats on the screen. The one I really wanted to actually draw your attention to is that 100% of our STEM research is rated at or above world standard. Now, in isolation, that doesn't mean much, but as students, that means a lot, because the people who are teaching you are the people who are doing that research. Almost all of our teachers are current active research staff as well. So you're learning from the people that are currently focusing on those big challenges in the world, dealing with growing enough food to meet the growing demand of population, looking at managing pandemics, looking at securing other resources. Those are the people who are actually teaching you. So you're getting that benefit and you're working side by side with them. And in some cases doing courses and projects directly with them as well. So it's really important to us that you're getting that connection and making sure that your education is as up to date as possible. We actually are #1 for teaching quality in sciences in South Australia, and we really think that's reflective of the way that we make sure that our research academics work with our current students. The one that I'm particularly proud of, though, is that we actually have a 5-star support rating for student support. We will talk a lot more about the different support services that are available in a little bit, but it's just to note that we really do care and we want to make sure that our students do well. We are here for you. All you need to do is ask for help and we will move mountains figuratively. Just checking. We can't do that yet, can we, Amanda? Not easily. Okay. Noted. But you're probably very much sick of Sasha and me at this point. So it is my pleasure to introduce you to our 3 students. I'll ask them to come up the front, please. So we have 3 real-life current university students here. They were allowed out of the zoo temporarily. Okay, that was bad, even by my standards, I apologize. But we have 3 current students here, 1 from each campus actually. So just to talk a little bit about their experiences. So we'll quickly introduce them and then we'll get them to just tell you a little bit about themselves. So first up, we have Alex. And then?
In the middle there is Emily.
And then we have Sarah. So Alex is based here at North Terrace.
Emily, yes, is based out at Oweek. Just finished her first year of Bachelor of Agricultural Science, which is very exciting.
Yeah. And Sarah is based out at Roseworthy. So you're getting the full campus experience between them. So we wanted to make sure you had a chance to hear from them about their stories and their journey, and also a little bit about them. So that way you can ask them particular questions about their campuses, etc. when we get to the end. And I will stop talking now.
Over to you.
Hi, everyone. So nice to meet you all. My name's Alex. I've just finished my 3rd year of my Bachelor of Arts and Science. So I've got 1 more year left, which is quite exciting. When I first came to the Uni of Adelaide, I moved down from Alice Springs, which is where I grew up and went to school. And I started a law degree, which is not what I'm doing now, because I did it for about 6 months, wanting to get into environmental law, and then realized that I was missing the very practical hands-on science part. And that's when I transferred into a double degree in science and arts. My major is ecology. So I do a lot of different biology subjects, lots of plant science, and then marine ecology, freshwater ecology, conservation ecology, all those kinds of subjects. I really, really love it. And I'm doing it with arts because I'm focusing on international development and anthropology. So I'm hoping to get into a career that looks at that environmental and human sustainability and how they kind of go together as 2 very connected fields that we can't really have either without the other. One of the highlights of my degree has definitely been the hands-on practical aspect. So throughout most of my science subjects have practicals. So every fortnight or so, we'll go into a lab, do different experiments, get to use the equipment, learn how to do all that kind of stuff. And then I've also had quite a lot of field trips, and they've absolutely been the highlight of my degree so far. Most of them have been to some pretty beautiful spots around South Australia, usually for a week or so. And that's been a fantastic opportunity to get to apply everything that I've learned in a very fun, practical kind of social setting. That's where I'm going to stop for now. Hopefully that gives you a bit of a good introduction of what I'm doing. But yeah, any questions later?
Hi guys, my name is Emily and I just finished my first year of agricultural science. So like Sasha said, I am based at the Oweek campus, but we do also go to Roseworthy, and our first year we do have a bit at the city. So really just everywhere. Yeah. I started university straight out of high school. So I finished high school last year at the University Senior College and came straight into it. But I definitely did not think I would always do ag science. I actually never thought about it, because you sort of think of the stereotypical farmer and think, no, I don't really want to be involved in that. But it is so much more than that. It is, encompasses everything that Sasha was talking about before, about food production and meeting all of these problems that are going to arise with growing populations. So I think it's a great thing to be involved in. As for the studying at the Oweek campus, it is a really tight-knit community. There's not very many degrees there. It's only really agricultural science and viticulture. So you get really close with everyone there, even people beyond your years. And to be honest, also the teachers, there's not too many. So you grow a really good relationship with them all. So I think that's a great thing. Probably something different about university to high schools is all of the clubs. Aside from sports, your high schools might have had a lot of sports, but as well as that at university, there's also a lot of other clubs outside of your degrees. So I almost think that every degree area would have a club, and you can join that club, be on the committee. They do a lot of different events outside of uni to meet with your fellow students and get involved in industry events. I think that's something that's really great with university study too. One of my favourite things about my degree would be our internships. So every degree is a bit different, but my degree requires 450 hours of internships over our 3 years, and they are really flexible with that. So we can do whatever we want, however long we like. It's often paid as well in agriculture, because like Sasha was saying, there's such a demand for jobs that we are often doing a job and we get paid for that. So that's also great, but it's great to learn beyond the classroom and beyond someone just lecturing us. So that's probably my favourite part of the degree. Yeah, I think that's it from me.
Hello, so I'm Sarah. I just finished my second year of veterinary technology. So I'm based full-time out at Roseworthy, which is basically like in the Barossa. So something a bit different about Roseworthy is we're pretty much a production, like a fully functioning production animal farm. So we've got cattle, sheep, goats, alpacas, chickens. We've got everything out there. But also we've got 3 functioning veterinary centres. So we've got a specialist companion animal centre, an equine performance centre, and a production animal centre. And we do rotations through there. I went into uni straight from high school 2 years ago, and I found the transition quite easy because Roseworthy is a really small campus, and your first day there, you do like an amazing race around Roseworthy where you learn where everything is. And you kind of get to know all the lecturers because everyone's either a vet on campus or they'll teach you for your subjects all through your 3 years. I think Roseworthy is also quite different to the other campuses around because the honours students are always asking you for help with things. So some people will be doing like studies on lambing, and they'll be like, hey, do you want to come spend a night out with the ewes when they're giving birth and take blood from the newborn lambs? It's like, cool, you get your hands-on experience right there. But also we do so many practicals with animals. Like literally, I think about 4 weeks ago, I was pregnancy testing cattle. So we're basically vets without the 6-year degree. I think that veterinary technology is new and upcoming in the field. We're technically not recognised yet, but they're working on the legislation. So we're in between a vet and a nurse. So we can do basically everything a vet does, but just not allowed to diagnose or prescribe medication. So I hope that gives you a bit of an insight into Roseworthy and my degree. So yeah.
Awesome.
Can we give our students a round of applause?
You guys can take a seat. Have a bit of a breather. Go and relax for a second. Thanks so much, guys. I think all of us here would agree it's really handy and useful to have you guys here. And suppose, one of the best examples that we can give you on what your, I suppose, life may look like at university, and all those little details that only really our current students would know. So we've popped up something on the screen that might look a little bit overwhelming and confusing to you now, but that's okay. This is our roadmap. And basically this is mapping out your journey, starting out right now and going all the way through to when you'll sit down in your first lecture, your first class here at university in February next year. So there are lots of different dates and lots of different events and key pieces of information in this roadmap. We're going to go through a lot of these details in more detail in the coming slides, but I wanted to point out while we have it up, there are 2 key dates coming up, which you're probably already all aware of. But firstly, the December 15th, which is tomorrow, is the change of preference deadline for the first offer round. So that's the last date that you have to rejig and reorder your preferences for the offer round, which is the 21st of December. So about a week later, after the change of preference deadline, there's the first offer round in December. And after that first offer round, there are subsequent offer rounds that will come later in 2022. Again, don't worry, we'll go through this in a little bit more detail, but you should actually all have received a copy of this. We've created it, made it into a fridge magnet, which is quite handy. You can pop it up on your fridge, have a look at it every day, check in your progress, see where you're at. It's a really handy way to sort of keep on top of your journey.
So, offers. This sounds like this is any place to start. Okay, so offers are essentially your invitation to enroll into university. So the first offer round is coming up very, very soon, and you can see some of the subsequent ones. The further we get towards the start date of university, the more often offer rounds will increase. So it gets down to a point where they're doing them 2 or 3 times a week right up before university starts as well. So offers will be emailed out to the email address you listed on your SATAC application. So if you have used your high school email address, I strongly encourage you to go back and change it to a personal email. More often than not, high school email addresses expire on the 31st of December, which means you won't get an email notification saying that your offer has come out. So if you've done that, would recommend that you go in and change it. Something else that's really important to note is that offers are emailed out progressively throughout the day. So they don't all come out bang on 9 a.m. It's quite normal for your friend to get an offer and it to take about another hour or so for you to get yours. So don't panic at all. Generally, they get them out by the early afternoon, but sometimes it does go right up until 5 o'clock. But they will all be out by 5 o'clock. Make sure you check your junk mail as well. They do often end up in there as well. So the first offer that you receive for university doesn't need to be your last. And that's where that change of preference deadline that Sasha mentioned is really important. So tomorrow is the change of preference deadline. So you do need to put your preferences in the order of what you want the most to your furthest backup choice. So it's not based on what has the highest score. It's based on what you really want to do the most, okay? If you get an offer in round 1 and you go, you know what? That's not quite the right fit, there is also a way to get another offer in another round as well. So you can get multiple offers. I once met a student who got 7 offers before they decided what they wanted to do. It was an administrative nightmare for the university, but they got where they wanted to go, and that's the main thing. The other thing that's really important to note as well is that some really competitive programs, such as veterinary bioscience, do not release all of the places in the December offer round, and the remaining places are offered in that first January round on the 14th. That's to not disadvantage students who are doing the IB. So for sciences, it's just veterinary bioscience, but other programs like medicine and dental surgery also do this as well. So it is really important just to note that there are still going to be places added to some degrees in that January offer round. So this is quite a lot of text. So again, don't panic, you will get a copy of this, but there are multiple ways to respond to an offer. There are 3 core responses, which are accept, defer, and reject. Then there's another version of each of them, which is I accept, but I wish to be considered for my higher preferences. And that's the really, really important one, because that will mean you can be considered in future SATAC offer rounds. So essentially the way this works is that SATAC will go down your preferences from 1 to 6 and look for the first degree that you're eligible for. If you meet the requirements for preference 1, they'll send you an offer and they will stop looking. So you only get 1 offer. If you don't, they'll move to 2, yes, offer, no, 3, and they'll keep going down until they can send you an offer. So let's say you get offered your 3rd choice, but you really want number 1. You can choose to accept that, but be considered for your higher preferences. And then on that January 14 offer round, you'll be reassessed against that first preference to see if you are now able to get a place. That might be because a lot of people deferred. It might be that people rejected their places, or that the university opened up more spots. So it is really important to just keep on top of it. If you don't click that you wish to be considered for your higher preferences, you will not be considered in any future offer rounds. So it's just important to keep that one in mind. SATAC has a really detailed FAQ on their website, so please don't be afraid to go and refer to that. It is really, really beneficial. So the only other thing I just really wanted to highlight here is that if you haven't paid your SATAC application fees, you cannot receive an offer. So if you haven't paid, please make sure you do that. So on December 15th, your preferences will lock, you won't be able to touch them. And then the day after that offer round in December, you'll be able to go back in and rearrange them until early January. They'll lock again, and then the January offer round, and then they'll unlock. So it'll go like that progressively as each offer round comes along.
Yeah, so in terms of what to actually list in those preferences of yours, obviously a sciences degree at the University of Adelaide. So this is our sort of list of the types of degrees that we offer in the Faculty of Sciences. It's quite broad, it's quite diverse. We do cover lots of different areas within sciences. I just wanted to point out that we have 2 main different types of degrees that we sort of refer to, that you might hear being referred to. So we have our named degrees, and these are named specifically after the area that the degree specialises in. So for example, our Bachelor of Agricultural Sciences is a named degree. Our Bachelor of Veterinary Technology, SARA study, is a named degree. The other type of degree that we offer here is our general sort of broader Bachelor of Science. So that's the degree listed under the sciences sort of study area in the bottom right-hand corner of that slide. So the Bachelor of Science is like I said, a really broad degree. It covers lots of different areas in science, and there are a couple of key things that make the degree quite unique and a really good possibility and opportunity as a degree that you might want to list. One of those being is there's a huge list of majors that you can choose from to major and specialise in the degree. So we pop them up there, you can have a little look. Like I said, it's a big long list. And the beauty of the Bachelor of Science degree is that we don't force you to pick a major and lock yourself into a major from your first sort of day here at university. The degree gives you the flexibility and the time to figure out what you're interested in, what you're not interested in, what you want to pursue. And then you can select a major from your 2nd year onwards. Another great thing about the degree that you may want to consider is it is at a lower entry point to some of our named degrees. So that can make it a really good backup option or lower sort of preference option for you, and can act as a pathway for you into a named degree. So yesterday, if perhaps some of you maybe didn't get the results that you were after, or that you know that you haven't completed a prerequisite that you require to get into one of our named degrees, you could accept an offer and enroll into our Bachelor of Science degree, and then spend your first year getting up your academic score and sort of completing those prerequisites that you need, and then do an internal transfer over into one of our named degrees after a year. And we have some incredibly friendly staff here at the university, which you will meet shortly, that can help create tailored and specific study plans for you that map out your first year and allow you to make sure you're completing everything that you need to do an internal transfer. So yes, a very good point. There are exceptions. The only other thing that I will point out is if you have been looking and doing your research and what you might like to study and what your preferences might like to be, you may not have come across what you're interested in our named degrees, but make sure that you have a little look. Hopefully you've all been looking at this list, studying this list hard, because your area of interest or what you want to pursue may not be offered as a named degree, but it may be here in our list of majors. So something to consider. Fabulous. So the next sort of step, if you're trying to decide between a couple of different degrees and you're not 100% sure, or if you've
set on what you want to do, but you want to know a bit more about it, is to have a look at the study plans. So we produce a study plan for all of our different degrees. And what that does is it lists what we call the core courses. So these are the courses that you absolutely must do in order to meet the requirements to graduate from a degree. So with the named degrees, there's a lot more core courses on those study plans. And then there are what we call elective courses. So these are free choice courses. It may be that we only give you a small list to choose from, and there may be opportunities to do a couple of courses here and there from other departments. But we will have an example study plan available for you. We do encourage you to go and have a look, because you can actually click on the individual subjects within that study plan and read about what you'll be learning in those subjects. So if you are really down to that decision-making point between two different options, going to that level of depth and detail can be what may help you make that decision. Obviously, if you look at the Bachelor of Science, there is going to be not much on there because you fill in the space. And that's why it's such a good backup choice, as Sasha mentioned, is that you get to fill in the space, and then we start telling you what the core courses you will need to do to meet those requirements are. But it's a really handy resource. We strongly recommend that you access that one. The next sort of overview here is just the enrollment process itself. So after you receive your offer for university, within about 24 to 48 hours, the university will email you your student number and password, as well as a set of instructions on how to set up your student account. So please keep an eye out for that one. It is really, really important. And if for whatever reason it doesn't come through, you can call the university and we can arrange for that to be sent to you as well. But that student number, you will be reciting it in your sleep for many years to come, because you will be using it every time you log onto a computer, every time you check your emails, which as students you should absolutely do. If there were some academics in here, they would definitely have a good laugh at that, because students are notorious for not checking their emails. If you've completed any studies at a certificate 4 at TAFE level or higher, you can also apply to receive credit for those prior studies after you've received your offer. So you get your offer, and then you go in and you talk to the faculty office, and we will guide you through the process of applying to receive credit. Sometimes credit can be mapped one-to-one with courses in your degree. Other times we can credit you for some of those elective free choice subjects because you've done higher enough level studies as well. Then you can check your study plan and really start deciding on what you want to put in there. We strongly encourage you to get enrollment advice and to come to the Science Service Hub, which we'll talk about in a moment, to get some personalised enrollment advice before you go through that enrollment process. And then step 6 is the one that everyone's looking forward to, which is getting started at uni.
Hooray.
So
I suppose
before you start,
right before you start, one of the most amazing events and great opportunities that we have here at the university is Oweek. And I would highly, highly encourage you all to get involved with and attend Oweek. So next year, in 2022, it'll be run from the 21st to the 25th of February. And it's a really great opportunity for you to come onto campus before you start studying, before you sit down in any sort of lecture theatre, and get sort of familiar, not just with what you're going to be studying, but with the space, with the environment, how things work, where things are. It's an opportunity for you to network and meet people that you're going to be studying with, and just get sort of familiar with the whole environment. Like I said, we know that coming from high school to university can be a bit daunting and scary and confusing and overwhelming and all those sorts of feelings. So Oweek is a really great example to perhaps settle some of those nerves and for you to start to picture, what these next sort of couple of years are going to be like for you at university.
There's also usually a lot of free stuff.
Yes, take advantage of that.
Free stationery, free food.
Yes.
It is worth it for that, trust me.
Yes.
They usually put on a really good amount of stuff. So
cool. So another sort of good initiative that we have, another program that we have here at the university that you can access actually from now, you don't have to wait until Oweek next year. You can access our pre-arrival mentoring program right from today if you want to. So our pre-arrival mentoring program is sort of works, it's online on an online platform, sort of works like Facebook Messenger. And basically you can log on to our platform and chat with our sciences mentors. So we have 3 sciences mentors that we've recruited to sort of sit online on this platform. They're waiting for your messages. And we've got an ambassador for each of the campuses. So a mentor, I should say, for each of the campuses. So one mentor that's based at North Terrace, one at Waite and one at Roseworthy. And you can jump onto that platform again from now right up until right before you start next year. and ask them sort of anything that you wish to know. You can ask them, questions specific to your circumstances. Some of those, the mentors that we have, moved interstate for their come here from interstate for their degree, so they're familiar with that sort of relocation process. Or you might just want to know some little things that have sort of been starting to niggle at your mind, like what do I have to bring to my first practical in a lab, or where can I buy lunch on campus? Like just any sort of little thing that you want to know, you can have an opportunity to chat online to students that are going through it themselves.
It's a lot less pressure than talking to a staff member, because when you talk to one of us, you kind of feel like it's a transaction. You've got to go in with your questions prepared. You can just chat to them. That's what they're there for. So even if you would just want to talk about favorite TV shows and stuff, they're just happy to talk. That's what they like.
That's what they're there for.
So we have a variety of support services. So you've got the pre-arrival mentors to sort of support you through the lead up, and then we have the university support services as well. So the main one for our students is the Science Service Hub. So it's pretty much your one-stop shop for everything sciences. So this is where you can get that personalized study advice. So if you go into the Bachelor of Science with a mind of going into the Bachelor of Science, Space Science and Astrophysics, but you need to make up physics, they're the ones who can help you through that process and guide you through your choices and what you need to do to get there. They can sit down with you and help you do your enrollment as well if you'd rather have that support. So you do need to book in generally. They do take walk-ins, but appointments are preferred, especially if it's something that is going to take a little bit longer, like a study plan consultation. There's an appointment form on their website, which will be included in the summary email. But we wanted to really highlight something about university that is very different from school, and that is that if you want help, you do need to ask for it. So at school, your teachers only have a smaller number of students than your professors at university do. And as a result, they can pick up on the signals of, hey, I think something's a little bit off today, a lot faster than stuff at the university can. We get there, but it takes us a long time just because there are so many more students. So if something is going on, if you're feeling like you're a little bit behind on your studies, if you're really just not getting something, it's important to go and access that help as early as possible. Don't let it snowball for 4 or 5 weeks until it becomes a really big thing. If it's just a quick chat with your tutor or your lecturer, or just a quick pop into the office, it's worth doing it. We wanted to really highlight that the people in the Science Service Hub are real people and they're really, really nice. So we actually have a special guest here.
Hi everyone, my name's Sharon. I'm part of the student experience team in the Science Service Hub. And yeah, as Ari mentioned, you can come in there. Really, you can drop in. We're open Monday to Friday, 10 till 4. We do prefer appointments, but if you are walking past and you've got a question, drop in. And it can be anything. If we don't know the answer, we'll definitely get back to you. So please feel, we're not scary in there, and sometimes, not that we're saying academics are, but sometimes it's easier to come in and speak to us about things, and we can certainly help out as much as we can. Okay, so please, don't be strangers, but definitely best to come in and trying to intervene in things if there's stuff that's going on that you need help with before, it gets too late, so we can try and advise you the best way around that. Okay, so don't be strangers.
Thanks, Sharon. So yeah, we really wanted to highlight that they're really nice people. Definitely go in and see them. It's really worthwhile. At a broader level, the university also has a different variety of support services. So there are drop-in support services for maths. So if you're having any trouble with your first year maths, definitely worth going in, even throughout your studies. Personal advice, if you are wanting to go there and do your exam prep, get there early in the morning. It's quite busy. There's a writing center if you need any help with referencing. There are drop-in support centers for chemistry, biology, physics. We have peer mentors who are available to help you with study sessions. There's a doctor on campus. We've got a counselling service, a disability service. If you're looking for somewhere to live, we have an accommodation service as well. There's a huge variety of support services. And again, it comes really down to asking for that help. So we have another guest here who I will invite up, and I'll get her to come towards the middle so our Zoomies can see her. I'll hand over to Amanda.
Hi, everyone. My name's Amanda Abel, and I'm a professor in plant science. So some of you, if you're interested in biology and you come and join us here, will see me in first year biology. But I also teach into the ag degree. So I will be seeing Emily in second year foundations in plant science. And I also teach plant pathology and plant biotech in third year. And I teach across Waite campus as well as North Terrace campus in teaching those things. And I guess Ari wanted me to tell you that academics, we're not scary, we don't bite, okay? So that's a really important thing here. And, you know, at the end of the day, we're actually all people like you. And actually, I can vaguely recall, it was some time ago now, but I can vaguely recall my first time coming to university. I was first in family. I was only 16 when I went to university, and I actually came from a farm, didn't know anyone, so it was all a bit scary. The trepidation and the fear was there. But you know what? You've just got to throw yourself into university life and also use the supports that you have around you. And like Ari said, make sure that you ask for help. Asking for help is really important. And, you know, you've got the wonderful Student Service Hub to help. You've got all of the services listed here, but you've also got the academics who you will see in the classroom every day. Now, the academics, yeah, okay, they're the content experts, so you might think we're a bit scary, but like I said, we're people as well. And, you know, I can remember over the years, I've had many students who, you know, they'll go, I'm really not sure what I'm supposed to be doing. And actually, it's my job as an academic to make sure you do know what you're supposed to be doing and help you if you need that help, okay? So academics, even though we might be the content expert and, you know, we are also researching, like Ari said as well, what we're wanting to do is to make sure that you as students succeed at what you do and you get the best out of your experience during a time here at university. But the way in which we can do that is for you guys to ask us. And, you know, over the years, I've seen many students, but there is one student that comes to mind. And in fact, I'm really happy for this student. And I'm guessing that Emily may even know this particular student once I tell the story. Many years ago, I saw her at an open day. She was in year 10. She said, I sort of think I want to do ag, but I don't think I'm good enough. I said, you're good enough. You can do anything you put your mind to. And that's the same with anyone, regardless of what your ATAR is. You can usually put your mind to something, you can succeed. Anyway, I saw her a couple of years later at another open day. She went, I'm still thinking about it, but I'm not sure because I've got so many other things going on in my life. You know, I've got to work, I care for someone. I also have a disability. I just don't know if I can cope with all of this. And I said, well, give it a go. All you can do is do your best, you know, and use support services. Come and chat to me. So anyway, she turned up. I saw her in first year biology and I went, oh, you're here. Wonderful. Great. Excellent. That was really exciting for me because I knew that she was grappling with, should I do university or not? But she's actually came and she's doing a degree or has just finished a degree that she really enjoys, and she has to travel quite a way because of her caring responsibilities every day. Anyway, long story short, we've got to the end of third year, and along the way, what she did was she would actually go and talk to her academics. She'd go talk to the course coordinators, she would talk to the lecturers, and she would seek advice on different things. And when things got tough, she'd ask for extensions, we'd work with her in terms of study plans, etc. And we got to the end. And you know what? The other really amazing thing about this story is that she chose in first semester this year, she had a baby, which would have made life even more difficult, but now she's finished her degree. And for me, one of the most rewarding things as an academic was when I saw her a couple of weeks ago and she said, you know what, I'm finished, I'm done. And I think I've passed my exams. She did pass her exams. She did great. But you know what? And that was even with all of this other stuff. You were right. I could do it. But she said, you know what? It was the faith that the academics put in me to do that. And it was also that you gave me confidence. So the reason I'm telling you that story, apart from the fact that it's great, you know, someone actually overcame a whole bunch of issues to get there, is that she captured very nicely for me what academics try to do. That is to instill confidence in you as students to learn, because that's what you're here to do after all, is to learn. And the only way in which we can do that is if you ask us for help along the way, because that's our job, is to help you. Okay, so I guess that was probably my main message is we're not scary, we don't bite. And I'm hoping that I see some of you in the classroom next year. Thanks.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thanks, Amanda.
So on the back of that really inspiring story, let's talk about money. This is just a very quick reminder. You will get sent information about this when you go through the enrollment process. But one thing I really wanted to highlight here is what we call Commonwealth Support. So if you are a domestic student, being an Australian citizen, permanent resident, holder of a permanent humanitarian visa, and there's a couple of others in there, you are eligible for what we call Commonwealth Support. Essentially, your degree costs this much, the government pays this, then you only have to pay this much. And then you can, if you're a citizen, you can defer that to a HECS help loan as well. One thing that we really encourage you to do as an early tip, if you have not already got one, is apply for a tax file number. You will need to provide that. Every single student, regardless of if you intend to pay your fees upfront or put them on HECS, still needs to go through and complete the form to apply for HECS. So please make sure that you've got a tax file number. You do need to provide that to the university by late March. You can get one at the post office, you get the paperwork there, or you can be modern and use the internet. That's probably the more efficient way of it, isn't it, Sasha? So that is a huge amount of information. We do not expect you to remember it all, which is why we're sending the recording to you so you can watch it over and over and over and over again. No one liked that one. Okay. What we are going to do now, though, is we are going to get our wonderful students to come back up. And we are actually going to have a bit of a Q&A opportunity. So you've got the option to have a chat with them, to ask any particular questions. Sasha's going to jump online and see if there's any questions from our Zoom friends. So just as a reminder to them, if you do have any questions, please submit them through the Q&A function. But I'll also say that Amanda and Sharon are also available for questions, and I can support too. So whether it's about what it's like to study at university, or a particular question about prerequisites or pathways to university, we're happy to answer it all. We'll see how we go. And otherwise, you can also just chat with us one-on-one if you'd prefer to at the end. So I'll open up. Does anyone have an opening question for us? I had a feeling this, oh my goodness, my friends, yes. So we'll just get the gentleman in the green shirt, please. I'm so glad it never works.
What's the shuttle timetable from here to like Roseworthy and Wake campuses like?
I drive.
Oh, you drive? Okay, yep. So one fun fact is that both Wait and Roseworthy do have free parking if you would prefer to drive. So in terms of the shuttle bus, it is set at very set times. So we have a schedule that we publish each year. I'm not going to lie, it's pretty early because we've got to get you out there in time for your morning classes. So I think the pickups here are around 7 usually. Oh, Emily, all right, I'm standing in the wrong place.
Yeah. So I basically live at Wait. So I would go from Wait to the city to Roseworthy, and from memory, I reckon it leaves Wait at 7, gets here at about 7:30 perhaps, and then goes to Roseworthy. But the tricky thing is that it actually suits the vet kids as well. So I reckon that they need to be there a bit earlier than say us ag kids need to be there, but it's a one bus for everything. So don't assume that your lesson starts at 10, so the bus will sort of suit that. It's actually quite early. So yeah, I think it's 7 o'clock from Wait and sort of 7:30 from here. Is that about right? Yeah, something
Sharon's
like that.
nodding and Amanda's nodding.
Yep.
That's the main thing. So
Good.
yeah, quite
Right.
early. Make sure that you've loaded up on coffee. Now, I believe we have an online question, Sasha.
We do. So the question is, what happens if you have a conditional offer through the STEM Academy and you meet the subject grades for science, but not the ATAR requirement?
Yeah, no worries. So for that one, it is a little bit trickier based on the specifics of the score that you've received. So it might actually be better. Sasha, was that done anonymously or?
It was, but
so if the person who submitted that question wouldn't mind redoing it with their name displayed, so uncheck the anonymous box, we'll actually follow up with you tomorrow. just so we can check where everything's at, because there's a few different options available. And that's the same with the other early offer pathways that we have, whether it's through the STEM Academy or through the Year 11 pathway. Depending on what you achieve and what you're hoping to get into, we have a couple of different options available. So if that is anyone in the room, make sure you come and have a chat to me after. I'm happy to go through it with you. But other than that, I think we'll throw to the room again. Oh, guys. Oh, up the back. We have our fantastic runners here.
Who was it?
Just leaning out into the thing. Yeah.
Hi, I'm interested in food and nutrition, but there are two options like food and nutrition science and then food and nutrition science honors. What is the difference between the two?
Did you want to take that, Amanda? Yeah. So Alex, would you mind giving me? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the difference really is just the last year of the honours program. So one is a 3-year program. So the Bachelor of Food and Nutrition Science is 3 years. The Bachelor of Food and Nutrition Science in brackets honours is 4 years. And the first 3 years are the same between both of them. The 4th year, it basically allows you to do an honours project, so a research project in an area with one of the experts in food and nutrition out at the Oweek campus.
Yeah, so it's basically just a guaranteed place in that 4th year research. If you decide later throughout your studies that research interests you and you've just gone into the 3-year version, you can still apply to do research, but it's just knowing that you've got that security from the beginning. That was a really good question. Thank you. I'll give the room a moment to really ponder their deep questions. And I have a quick lightning round question for our 3 students. Now, you don't have to answer this. Now you're feeling the pressure. Would you be willing to share just a sort of like first week kind of experience, maybe something that didn't quite go to plan, or, you know, just to show that everyone gets nervous in that first week? I've got plenty, but my first week was a disaster. So.
Yeah,
Alex.
so just getting super lost on campus. So my tip and advice for that is there's an app called Lost on Campus, and you can literally put the exact room number, lecture theatre, whatever you're trying to get to. It can be room like 314 in this lecture theatre, and it'll take you directly there. And that has saved me for the last 3 years. So I highly recommend Lost on Campus, the app.
Thanks, Alex. Emily?
I reckon my first mistake in my first week was probably not familiarising myself with my uni. And at the moment, you'd have no clue what my uni is, but it's just it's the centre of everything. Everything is on my uni. I don't know if you use Google Classroom now, but it's kind of like that. All your classes are there. Everything is there. It can be really overwhelming because there's the lectures, workshops, pracs, notes, everything. But, you know, I got to my first lectures and they said, have you done the pre-reading? I did not do the pre-reading because I didn't know where it was. So I would say just familiarize yourself with that before you go to your lectures. Honestly, they're pretty good with pre-reading on the first week, but I think it just it freaks you out a bit if you don't know what was going on. So that can just calm the nerves a bit if you already know what to expect because you've looked at my uni. But yeah, that would be probably my tip. Yeah.
Sarah, do you have anything? You don't have to, but
It's more an embarrassing story, which might put people at ease. But my first week of uni, first year vet tech, you do anatomy. So you kind of walk into the anatomy lab, and anatomy is station based. So you'll walk in and there's just going to be different like body systems and such on the table. I was just so nervous walking into my first prac. I literally passed out. So if that happens to any of you guys, it happens to about 5 people in my year. So just don't feel embarrassed when it happens. So just, you know, helps calm the nerves.
And I thank you all for sharing that. I know it's not the most comfortable thing to do, but I think it is really important just to highlight that it is a very different environment. It's a very different experience. Everyone makes mistakes, like accidentally enrolling into a 3rd year course instead of a 1st year course and being completely overwhelmed because it was an Italian course and I hadn't done Italian before, and they all were speaking only in Italian, and it was a 2-hour class, and I just was so embarrassed, and I sat there really quietly and hoped that no one would notice. So it happens to everyone. So on that really embarrassing note, I will hand back over to the room. Are there any other questions? Nice and high for me. I'm quite short. Aha, yes. So just behind you in the shed. Yeah. That's a really, really good question. I'm glad you asked that one. So we have a few different degrees at the university where it has the standard stream and then the advanced stream. Basically, the best way to describe the difference between these two is that year one is the same, but from year two onwards, if you are in the advanced stream, you start focusing more on research. So you'll start doing specialized projects, courses that are much more focused towards research. So if you're someone who's interested in pursuing research as a career, the advanced stream is a really good way for you to go. It does have a much higher entry score, but you can start in the Bachelor of Science. And if you get inspired to do research after your first year, at the end of year one, you can move into the advanced degree and you won't actually have missed any of the advanced components. In terms of employment opportunities, it really depends on what you want to do for a career. If you're really interested in research, then certainly doing a degree that specializes in research will help you quite a bit. But it will depend on the opportunities that you take up during your studies. Do your volunteering, go and see the university's careers service as early as possible. Don't wait until your final year, go in year one. They'll make a degree length career plan, including volunteer work, internships, resume writing workshops. Take advantage of all of that. My personal number one bit of advice in terms of increasing your employability is you need to enjoy what you're doing. It's not going to be 100% rosy all of the time, but as long as you enjoy it more than you don't, you're on the right track. Because when someone's sitting opposite you doing an interview, they're going to pick up on your passion and your enjoyment for the subject matter. If you're doing just something just because you think there's going to be a really good paying job at the end of it, it's going to be really hard for you to proceed to that next step. So make sure that you enjoy what you're doing and it will go a really, really long way. I know that was sort of a vague answer, but because of how broad the science degrees are, it is quite hard to narrow it down. I think we have time for one more question. Have you got any online for me, Sasha? No? All right. One more for the room. Right up the back for me, please.
So it can be a bit of a general statement, but for kind of veterinary technology, are you already thinking of doing placement? Is placement like provided, or is that something you have to kind of research and find out yourself, sort of those areas?
Okay, so with vet tech, you do placement at the end of your first year. So that's 4 weeks of placement, 2-week blocks, 60 hours. You are given a list of different vet clinics and you basically have to email them yourself and be like, hey, I'm on holidays this and this time. Can I do placement? They're really receptive and they're literally awesome about it. And then at the beginning of third year, we do 6 weeks of placement. So those 6 weeks are mandated by the uni. We do 2 weeks at the Companion Centre at Roseworthy, 2 weeks equine and production, 1 week at the veterinary diagnostic lab, which is like doing necropsies and basically like clinical stuff, and then 1 week at Vets for Pets. So those 6 weeks are organized, and then you have 3 more weeks where you pick your specialty pretty much and you go wherever you want. So for me personally, in those 3 weeks, I'm going to a companion clinic that specializes in greyhounds because I don't want to work with production animals. But yeah, basically it's pretty much all up to you and where you want to go with your placements of vet tech.
And we do have placement officers at Roseworthy as well. So we work with our industry partners to make sure that we have a certain number of placements at each partner available to our students. But we think it's a really valuable experience for students to take that first step and make that inquiry. But we, of course, have safety nets and support there as well if things aren't working out so well, because you do need to do the placement as part of your studies. So we're there in the wings ready to jump in if something goes wrong. I think that will pretty much cover us for time at the moment. So thank you all so much for coming. We will be having all of the staff and students out for you to ask us questions. So I'll ask Amanda and Sharon to head upstairs now so they can get ahead of the rush of the fully packed lecture theatre. That would be very un-COVID safe. We would never do that. And then I'll have our wonderful students stay down here, and I'll stay down here with them as well. So if you've got any questions about study pathways, you can either go upstairs and see Amanda and Sharon or come and speak to myself. if you just want to know a bit more about what it's like to be a student, our wonderful students are here to help you. Sasha, anything to add?
Yeah, other than that, thank you so much to all of you for coming. Thank you for spending your evening with us. We hope that you have taken something from this session, and again, you will be provided with lots of resources afterwards, so you can go back and sort of peruse at your own time. But we, again, thank you, and we really look forward to seeing you, hopefully on campus next year. Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.